ship anyone sail is leadership. Yes, the first ship that anyone must sail in is leadership. And the truth is this: many things rises and falls on leadership. Exactly. Many things rises and falls on leadership. Great evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. I am Mr. Upgrade, and I'm super excited to be here again for another exciting Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. See, on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade, we basically get to do four things. Number one, we get to take your questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to send in your questions and we will gladly take them, right? Number two, we get to share with you the Upgrade Mastery tip for the week. And for this week, the Upgrade Mastery tip for the week is the drum rolls, leadership. Yes, leadership is the Upgrade Mastery tip for this week, and we are going to unpack a lot of things that you need to know as it regards leadership, right? The third thing that we get to do, the third thing that we get to do here is we get to connect, network, and bond, because realize that in the world that we live in today, it is important that people get to connect, the network, and they bond, because we're in a global village right now, right? The world is connected via the internet, so you can meet anyone from across the globe here. So that's why it's important that you get to learn to connect, to network, and to bond. And then the fourth thing that we get to do here is that we get to have fun. Yes, we get to have fun while we do this, because I strongly believe that if learning is not fun, there is no learning at all. So we get to have fun while we do what we do on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. And I'm super excited again for today, because there's so much learning that we're going to have here today, and it will literally change your perspective towards leadership and why you are a leader. Regardless of your position or your title, you are a leader. So let's get ready. Are you ready for today's conversation? If you're ready and ready for today's conversation, type ready in the comment section so I know that you're ready, and then we would begin. Wow. I know that you're ready, then we'll begin. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm excited. I don't know about you, but I'm excited that you're here, and I can't wait for us to begin this conversation where we're going to have an amazing time today, because you're in for a small time. So, are you ready? Let's get this show on the road. Now, on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade, we also begin with our basic 5 questions. Now, these 5 questions help us to lay the foundation on the conversation. It helps us to build the foundation that we would use to continue the conversation all through this session. So this question just help us lay the building blocks upon which every other thing will be built while we have the conversation. So are you ready for our 5 questions? Are you ready? Are you ready? So let's begin with our basic 5 questions for this conversation. Question number one, which is a very basic question that I believe that you should have an answer to. And if you don't yet have an answer to it, then you should pay attention to this. Question one, what is leadership? When you hear the word leadership, what comes to your mind? What does that resonate for you as a person? When you hear leadership, what does it evoke in you? What is leadership? You know, you hear people say, oh, it's a leadership problem. Oh, there's something wrong with the leadership. What exactly is the leadership? What exactly is leadership? When you hear leadership, what does it evoke in your mind? What comes to your mind when you hear leadership? I'll tell you. You see, leadership, it is the ability to lead self and others towards a goal and vision. Are you getting this? Leadership is the ability for you to lead self. Leadership starts with self. Your ability to lead self and others towards a vision and a goal. That is leadership. The ability to carry people along towards a vision and a goal. That is leadership. Are you getting this? So the ability for you to be able to lead yourself towards a vision and a goal, that is personal leadership. And then the ability to also lead others towards a vision and a goal, that is leadership. So leadership is about leading. Leading. You're taking people from point A to point B because there is a vision and a goal. Are you getting this? So that ability to lead self and others towards a vision and a goal is leadership. Question number 2: who's responsible for leadership? Now, since we know what leadership is, now who is responsible for leadership? The answer is very simple. You are responsible for leadership. I know a lot of times we like to blame other people for leadership and say, oh, they are responsible. No, you are responsible for leadership because you are expected to first lead yourself and then lead the people around you. So you are responsible for leadership. So if there's a leadership failure, that's a you failure. Are you getting this? So why you think you want to blame others or cast aspersions on others, remember that you are part of leadership. You are responsible for leadership. So if leadership is failing wherever you find yourself, then you should question yourself. You say, oh, but I'm not in authority. It's not necessarily about being authority. How you've been able to lead yourself in your own space. That is very critical. Are you understanding this? Is this making sense? Question number 3: why leadership? Why do we have to talk about leadership? Why do we have to pay attention to leadership? Why is leadership of any importance and consideration at this time? Why leadership? 3 reasons why leadership. Number 1, for guidance and direction. So you see, the leader is the one who provides guidance, who provides direction, because you are taking people towards a vision and a goal. So it's expected that there will be guidance and there will be directing. This is how you should go. This is how you go about it. There is guidance. You know, when David was analyzing the role of God in our lives as the good shepherd, he said, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Some translation says, "I lack nothing." Then he went on to say, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." Right? So you see, guidance and directing from the shepherd, that is leadership. The shepherd leads the sheep. Does that make the shepherd leadership? Wow. Right? So you could see that there is guidance and directing. So one of the reasons for leadership is guidance and direction. Second reason for leadership is system and structure. Leadership is about putting a system and a structure in place, putting structures upon which things will run, and putting systems upon which processes would align. System and structure is the second reason why leadership. So even in the absence of the leader per se, the system and the structure continue. So that's why even though Jesus has left the earth thousands of years ago, the system and structure of the church still continues. Are you getting this? That's what leadership is about. It's about system and structure. What can be done in the absence of the leader is through system and structure. So the leader doesn't have to necessarily be always available but the system and structure is available, and things work in system and structure, and that is done by leadership. Paul says something very striking. He says, as you have obeyed me in my presence, do much more in my absence. Why is that going to be possible? The system and the structure. Third reason why leadership is responsibility and service. So you see how all the reasons are being aligned. First, there's guidance and direction. Next, there's system and structure. And now there's responsibility and service. See, the goal of leadership is responsibility and service. Responsibility and service. So it's not the shepherd, it's not the sheep that is taking the shepherd to green pastures. It's the shepherd leading the sheep to green pastures. There's responsibility and service. That's why scripture says that the good shepherd laid down his life for the sheep. Responsibility and service. Jesus said, the one who will be the greatest among you must first be the servant. Leadership is about responsibility and service. Right? Simon Sinek wrote a book titled Leaders Eat Last. It's about responsibility and service. If you cannot be responsible, you cannot handle responsibility, you cannot serve, you cannot be in leadership. Because leadership is responsibility and service. And interestingly, we've had conversations around these lines. We've had conversations on responsibility. We've had conversations on service. So you need to go back and listen to some of all of these are conversations and tie them together to this that we're talking about now in leadership. Because all of these things, they add up. They add up, guys. Now, question number 4. What are the benefits of leadership? What are the benefits of leadership? What do you stand to gain when it comes to leadership? I'll tell you 3 benefits of leadership. Number 1, profit. You're wondering, come on, why is there profit in leadership? Calm down. Let me explain. You see, when we talk about profits, what we mean when we talk about profit, we mean 3 things. Profit is about 3 things. It's about influence, it's about impact, it's about income. And you see, when leadership is done right, there is profit. Remember, scripture says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. Why? There's profit, there's influence, there's impact, there's income. Profit. So one of the benefits of leadership is profit. There's influence, there's impact, and there's income. There's income. Second benefit of leadership is that it's vision driven. Because leadership is about leading self and others towards a vision and a goal. So it's vision driven. You're leading people towards a vision, what you want them to achieve. It's vision driven. Vision driven. The third benefit of leadership is result driven. So leadership, it's result driven. It's about results. It's not about just talk. It's about results. It's about workings, show workings, like they will say in local parlance. You need to show workings. It's about results. So you can see that things are literally changed and transformed. It's about results. Leadership is about results, so it's result driven. So the 3 benefits of leadership: number 1, there's profit, there's influence, there's impact, there's income. And then number 2, there is vision driven. So leadership is about a vision. Where are we headed? We are going somewhere. It's about a vision. Result driven. Now, the book My Vision, about what's the guy's name now? Al Maktoum, right? From Dubai, that book, My Vision, It talks about the race to excellence. It highlights how Dubai transformed from what it used to be to what it is now. That's leadership. Vision driven, result driven. I used to say this jokingly that in 1985, Dubai was the place that people did not want to go to. In that same 1985, Nigeria was the place that everybody wanted to come to. Fast forward to 2025, Dubai is the place everybody wants to go to. You can't say the same for Nigeria. What happened? Leadership. Vision driven, result driven. It's leadership, guys. That's the benefit of leadership. So I encourage you to go get that book, My Vision. Right? Just type it on Google, My Vision, The Race to Excellence. You see the details about the book. Go read that book. It will help you. It will give you a better understanding of what I'm talking about now on leadership. You can see how a people and a place was literally transformed as a result of leadership. And that's what I'm telling you now, that leadership is about profit, it's about vision driven, it's about results driven. So you say you're a leader, let's see what's the profit, let's see what's the vision, let's see what's the result. Question number 5. When is the best time for leadership? When's the best time for leadership? You know, I often say this, that the last best time for anything was yesterday. The next best time for leadership is now. Now is the next best time for leadership. Now. So understanding this, it means that you must wake up. Wake up to leadership. Now, I say this to people all the time, that morning is not always dawn. Whenever you wake up, that is your morning. And this is my call to you to wake up to leadership. And it's not about, oh, I have a title, I have a position. No, it's not about that. Because there are leaders with no title. There are leaders with no position. It's not about title or positions. No. No. It's not about those things. It's about leadership. First of self and then of others. Towards a vision and a goal. That's what it's about. It's vision driven, it's result driven. That, my friend, is leadership. Now, let's make progress, because there's so much we need to unpack in this conversation right now. There's so much that we need to unpack, and I hope that you're ready for this. So let's get into the gist of the conversation that we have now. Let's make progress. So, see this, guys. Let's break down leadership. Leadership. A leadership. Let's break that down so that everybody can have a better understanding of it. Right? Remember, I told you when we started that the first ship anyone must sail in is leadership. Before you get into friendship, before you get into a relationship, you must first be in that ship of leadership. You need to lead yourself. See, guys, a lot will rise and fall to the degree of your leadership. A lot. And I pray that you have an open mind towards this conversation, because it will literally change a lot of things for you. Let's begin. Now, the L in leadership is lead. Lead. Now, leadership begins with your ability to lead yourself. To lead yourself. To understand a vision for yourself. To have a goal for yourself. And put yourself on that path of that vision and goal for yourself. So it starts with you. See, you cannot lead others if you've not been able to lead yourself. That's where it begins. It starts with you being able to lead yourself. Where are you headed as a person? What's the vision for your life as a person? That's where it starts. It starts with you being able to lead. You know, a lot of people want to be led. which is okay, which is fine. But you must first lead self. You must set yourself on that path that you are heading somewhere. And then, with that knowledge, with that experience, you can now begin to lead others based on where you are going. And let other people be inspired to figure out where they too can go through your inspiration as a leader. You must first be able to lead self. You know, there was one thing that Mahatma Gandhi did back in the day, right? One of the leaders in India that time. He, when the government were not willing to understand his perspective about what he was trying to do at that time, he went into a personal fast for days and said he was never going to eat or drink water until some things were resolved. So he put himself under that fast for days. For days. That's leading self. Until eventually the government now overturned that decision. He led self. He didn't command the people to fast. No, he started from himself. He led self. You see the same thing with Esther. He says, myself and my maidens would fast, and then I will go see the king. And if I perish, I perish. Leadership starts with self. To lead self, to lead yourself. And you see, how this impacts is that when everybody leads themselves as they should, life and society gets better. So it starts with lead of self. Life and society gets better. It starts with how you lead yourself. So I want you to understand this and let this sink into your subconscious. Leadership starts with lead, and that lead starts with self. It starts with self. So you can't blame other people for failure in leadership if you have not led yourself. You can't hold others accountable if you've not held yourself accountable. Because when it comes to leadership, there's no pushing blames. You're holding people accountable. They are two different things. Because a lot of people want to blame others. No, you are holding them accountable to basic standards that they should have if they are leading themselves. The E in leadership, the first E in leadership is exposure. See, the thing is this, as you get to lead yourself, the more exposed you get. You're exposed to things, you're exposed to people, you're exposed to life itself. You're exposed. So leadership gives that exposure. You put yourself in the forefront. That exposure is there. You're going all in, going all out. The exposure is there. So you can't lead from hiding position. No, you're exposed. You're the target. Everyone is looking out for you, looking out to you. You are a target. There's the exposure that comes with leadership. Aside of the fact that it exposes you to things, you also get exposed as a leader. You get exposed to new information, you get exposed to new knowledge, you get exposed to new ways of doing things. Because it's what you are exposed to, you translate down to the people that you lead. So leadership brings exposure. So I'm able to share this based on the things I have been exposed to. Are you getting this? So leadership brings exposure. There's no person who can be an amazing leader practicing leadership that doesn't have exposure. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. Leadership brings exposure. You see, the children of Israel did not see the burning bush. It was Moses who saw the burning bush. Exposure. Leadership brings that exposure. Are you getting this? It brings the exposure. The A in leadership is ability. You bring in your ability in leadership, right? There's no way, literally, there's no way you can lead without your ability involved, right? Your skills, your talent, your competence, your capacity, they all play a key role in leadership. That's your ability. The things you are able to do play a key role in leadership. You see, in Matthew 25, the master gave the servant talents according to their ability, and the servants demonstrated leadership by their ability. What they did, they went ahead and put their talent to work. That's their ability. So leadership is about you putting to use your ability, your skill, your creativity, your talents, right? Your capacity, your competency, you put it to work in leadership. It's your ability. How you solve problems is your ability. It's your ability. Problem solving, communication, result driven is your ability. And it is put to use in leadership. You know, when David and his men came back from battle and they found out that their town was plundered by the enemies, their children, their wives, their properties were taken away, the men with David began to cry. They cried to the point that they had no longer strength in them. You see that story in First Samuel chapter 30. But David, leadership, put his ability to use and said, okay, bring in the effort. Let's inquire of God what we need to do. And David asked of God, should I pursue? And God said, pursue. He said, will I overtake? And God said, you will overtake. And Jesus said, will I recover? God said, you will recover all. Put his ability to work. And after he got that confirmation, he charged with the men. He pursued, they overtook, and they recovered all. And they came back with everything. That is leadership. Using your ability. Using your ability. It is part of leadership. It is a critical aspect of ability of leadership. Your ability. I told you, problem solving, communication, result driven. It's part of your ability in leadership. The D in leadership is discipline. See, you are not in leadership if you lack discipline. I don't know what you're doing if you lack discipline. You're not in leadership. Because in leadership, there is discipline. You are able to delay gratification. You are able to put others first before yourself. Remember, I told you the book by Simon Sinek, which I encourage you to go read. I'm just giving you a lot of books in this session. Leaders Eat Last. Go read the book. I know you have read a lot about John Maxwell, who is a very top guru in leadership. The leadership, John Maxwell, Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the Leadership Bible by John Maxwell, so many John Maxwell resources. So that's why I'm not even going to go there because that's like the famous one everybody knows when it comes to leadership. He's the one who postulated the principle that everything rises and falls on leadership. But I'm giving you some other clues that you need to go read. My Vision, the book, My Vision. Now, this book by Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. Why? Because leadership is about discipline. It's about discipline. There must be discipline in leadership. Your ability to delay gratification, the ability to put others first, the ability to have self-control, discipline, personal discipline, and discipline in your leadership. You can't be in leadership without discipline. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work, guys. There must be discipline. The second E in leadership is excellence. See, leadership is not a call to average or mediocrity. No, it's a call to excellence. Remember the book I recommended earlier, My Vision? Sheikh Al Maktoum, right? Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum. Go read the book, My Vision. You see the race to excellence. How Dubai literally transformed from what it used to be to what it is now. Leadership, excellence, excellence. See these guys. It makes no sense that we can't trace excellence to your leadership. You know, people are just doing cut and paste anywhere belay face. Let's just do it so it doesn't look like we didn't do anything. No, that's not leadership. True leadership is marked with excellence, attention to details, excellence. The E in leadership, the second E in leadership is excellence. You cannot be a mediocre and be a leader. You can't. There must be excellence. R in leadership is responsibility. I told you earlier, leadership is about responsibility and service. Responsibility. Taking up responsibility. Your response with your ability. That's responsibility. And that's what leadership is about. Responsibility. Not waiting to be told what to do, but being proactive in doing what must be done. Responsibility. You're seeing things going wrong. You're taking responsibility to take initiative to fix it. Because leadership, like I said, is about problem solving, it's about communication, and it's about results driven. If you can't find these three things in leadership, then there's no leadership there. Problem solving, communication, and result driven. It's about responsibility. The S in leadership is service. Service. And you know that service is giving of yourself faithfully towards the attainment of a goal without expectation of reward. Is service. And service is very critical in leadership. You are serving others. Jesus said, the one who will be the greatest will first be the servant. You're serving others. He took out the bowl, removed his clothing, and he began to wash the apostles' feet. He was showing them an example through service. Even when Peter wanted to object and say, Master, you can't wash my feet, Jesus said, if I don't wash your feet, you have no place in me. He was showing them an example through service, and he told them to do likewise. He was showing them an example through service. Leadership is about service. Service to God, service to others, service to humanity. It's about service. Remember, Mother Teresa, she lived a life of service. Leadership is about service. It's about service. The H in leadership is humility. Leadership, yes, you have title. Yes, you have a position of authority, but it's about humility. How you are able to carry others along, how you're able to lift up others from the dunghill and set them up. It's about humility. The I in leadership is inspiration. Leadership is about inspiration. People look at you and they are inspired. People see your life, they are inspired. People see your works, they are inspired. It's about inspiration. It's about inspiration. And finally, the P in leadership is purpose. It's always a purpose to leadership. always a purpose. There's always a purpose to leadership. See this, guys. When you understand all of this, it changes a lot of things for you. It changes a lot of things. It literally changes a lot of things for you. Leadership is purpose. It's a purpose for the leadership. That's why it exists. It's not a mistake. There's a purpose for it. And you must fulfill purpose through leadership. You must fulfill purpose. So this, my friends, is what leadership is about. To lead, the exposure, the ability, the discipline, the excellence, the responsibility, the service, the humility, the inspiration, and the purpose. This, my friends, is leadership. And this is what I call you into, to leadership. Because regardless of where you are at this time, you ought to be involved in leadership. And it's not just about a title or a position. It's about you leading yourself and then helping to lead others. You know, just as when Jesus saw the multitude, he saw them as sheep without shepherd, and he had compassion towards them. That's leadership. That's leadership. Now, there are three things about leadership I want you to pay attention to. Three things about leadership. Number one, there's the ownership mentality. And you see, for anyone who's a leader, they have an ownership mentality. You know, scripture says that if you are not faithful in another man's business, who will commit yours into your hands? There's the ownership mentality that begins with leadership. Knowing that it doesn't have to be mine for me to make it the best it can be. There's ownership mentality. You don't see things going wrong and you say, oh, it doesn't really concern me. No, that's not for a leader. That's not for a leader. Because leadership is about ownership mentality, making a place better than you met it. In fact, true leadership rejoices when there is crisis because it's an opportunity to showcase leadership. So when things are not working, the true leaders are like, yes, let's fix this. Because leader is about problem solving, communication, result driven. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's like the summary of everything in the encapsulation. It's about problem solving, it's about communication, and it's about result driven. And that starts with ownership mentality. You always want to make things better than you met it. You want to leave things better than you met it. Ownership mentality. The second thing about leadership is that people matter. People are critical to leadership. People matter. You must see people for who they can be, not who they are. That's leadership. You know, in 1 Samuel 22, when David was in the cave of Adullam, the people who came to him, they were in debt, they were in distress, they were discontented. Those same guys, over time, became David's mighty men. Why? David understood that people matter. He didn't see them for who they are now. He saw them for who they can be. These were guys who at some point told David, don't even go to battle anymore with us, so they do not put out the light of Israel. They will go to battle for you. At the point, David said, I thirst, and the water was in the camp of the Philistines. And two of his men broke into the Philistines' camp just to get him water. Just to get him water. These were people who at one point in their life's journey were in debt, were in distress, were discontented. But because David understood leadership and knew that people matter, he saw them for who they could be, not who they were now. One of the things I am grateful to God for in leadership is to help bring out the best in people, even when they don't see it in themselves. To help bring out the best, because in every person there's greatness in them. And as a leader, your responsibility is to bring out that greatness in them. Why? Because you understand that people matter. People matter. That's very critical in leadership. People matter. Let me tell you how much people matter. I'm going to say this later, but let me just mention it now. You see that they say that where there is no vision, the people perish. No leadership is about vision. But I also say that where there is no people, the vision perish. So you need people to achieve vision. That's why people matter. You need people to achieve vision. Because without the people, the vision will perish. Just the same way. Without the vision, the people will perish. So they are both important, the vision and the people. That's why leadership shows that people matter. Because while leadership provides vision, people are important in actualizing that vision. So people matter to leadership. And the third thing about leadership is accountability. A leader must be held accountable, first to himself, then to God, then to others. A leader must be held accountable. You see, as amazing as David was in his leadership, when he messed up, right? 2 Samuel 12, verse 11, 2 Samuel 11, he went to take Bathsheba and kill Uriah. He messed up. 2 Samuel 12, Prophet Nathan came to hold him accountable. And David repented of the evil that he had done. When it comes to leadership, you must be accountable. There is accountability in leadership. You see, what we see around the world today in many leaders is that there is no accountability. So because they are leaders, they feel they have immunity. Rather for them to have accountability, they exercise immunity. That's not leadership, because leadership has accountability, not immunity. So you're held accountable for your wrongs. You're held accountable for the things that you do. There's no immunity. There's accountability. That's what destroyed King Saul. He wanted someone to pretend with him as though all is well after he had disobeyed and done what God told him not to do. God told him to utterly destroy the Amalekite. He spared the best, spared the king. And someone came and said, to obey is better than to sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. And because you have done this, God has rejected you. God has planned to establish your throne forever, but now he has rejected you. No accountability from Saul. And Saul died, and his heir to the throne, Jonathan, died on the same day in battle. No accountability. So, three things about leadership: ownership mentality, people matter, and accountability. See, there are two traits of leadership. When you see these two traits anywhere, you understand that these are the two traits of leadership. And what are these two traits? Responsibility and service. These are the two traits of leadership. It's responsibility and their service. You can't be a leader without responsibility. You are not in leadership where there is no service. So your leadership is not just to, have a title and just revenge the title. No, it's a call to responsibility and service. Those are the two traits of leadership: responsibility, service. And interestingly, I've dealt on these two things individually on the Upgrade Live. So I will encourage you to go and watch it. The conversation on responsibility, the conversation on service. Go and watch it. It will help you in your leadership. Like I said, you are a leader. You are in leadership. Whether you have a title or a position or not, you are in leadership. And because you are in leadership, it demands from you responsibility and service. You saw what the Good Samaritan did for the man who was beaten and left for dead. He took responsibility, he offered service. The one goal of leadership is vision. Vision. Leadership provides vision. We are leading people. There is a vision. People are going somewhere. There is a vision. The one goal of leadership is vision. Vision. People would follow the leader because of the vision. This is where we are going. And he says, let's go. Vision. True leadership is encapsulated in the vision. Vision. And that's why I told you that where there is no vision, the people will perish because there's no vision. And also, where there is no people, the vision will perish because people need vision and vision need people. That's the balance of leadership. People need vision, vision need people. And see these guys. Leadership is about building people, building structure, building system. See, if you get this right, you've succeeded in establishing leadership as it should be. Building people, building structure, and building system. Any leadership that works across the world, you will see these three things I just mentioned. They're building people, they're building structure, they're building systems. You see, David wasn't just a leader of sheep alone, he led people. Even before he ascended the throne, he was building people, he was building structure, he was building system. That's what leadership is about. So you can't say you are a leader and you have not built people. You see, it is the people that you build that will build the structure and will build the system. The people that you build. So you have to spend time in building people, invest in the lives of people. That is true leadership. See them beyond their obvious flaws and faults right now. Build them. What makes you an amazing leader is the people you have built. Build people. Invest in them. Look beyond who they are now. See who they can be. Build them into that. One of the goals of Archbishop Benson Idahosa was building people into leadership. Building people into leadership that are firmly rooted in Christ. Building people. Building people into leadership with a global passion that is firmly rooted in Christ. Building people. Because when you build people, the people you build will build structure. They will build system because they have been built. So don't go the other way around to be building system, building structure before you build people. No. Follow the process. Build people, build structure, build system. It starts with people. Because leadership is about building people. David gave us the prototype in the cave of Adullam. 1 Samuel 22. Give us that prototype, building people. Stop seeing people for who they are now. See people for who they can be. That's leadership. We are building people. Because you see, sometimes life has dealt with people that they can't even believe in themselves. So what you do as a leader is to help them to believe in themselves because you believe in them. You are building people. People who do not even see themselves as being able to achieve anything. You're building them, you're instilling confidence in them, you're making them believe that they can do it. And over time, they've been built. That's leadership. It's about building people, building structure, and building system. And see, leadership does not start with position. Leadership starts with self. Starts with self. You know, David did not just become a leader when he sat on the throne. No, he was a leader even from his father's house. Even before Samuel came to anoint him in his father's house, he was already a leader. He was taking care of his father's sheep. That was leadership. He was taking care of his father's sheep. That was leadership. When the bear and the lion attacked the sheep, he took responsibility. He killed the lion and the bear. That is leadership. When a sheep will go astray, he will leave the 99 to go find the one. That is leadership. So leadership doesn't start with position. It starts with self, leading yourself. No wonder John C. Maxwell, in his 5 level of leadership, says the lowest level, level number 5, is positional leadership. Positional leadership. And the highest level, level 1, is personhood. And that's what I'm telling you, that leadership starts with self, leading yourself, leading yourself. There are things you just will not do, regardless of who's watching or who's not watching. It's leadership of self. And see, leadership, once you've started with self, then it continues with the vision. You're seeing possibilities, integrity, you're doing right, courage, you're taking risk, empathy, you are understanding and valuing people, resilience, your ability to bounce back, decisiveness, making tough calls with conviction. You see, when it comes to leadership, making tough decision is part of it. Making tough decision. You know, as a leader, you must never be afraid to make tough decisions. In fact, one of the hallmarks of being in leadership is your ability to make tough decisions. People may not understand it at the point you are making those decisions, but you, that is in leadership, you must be able to make those tough decisions. And sometimes not even try to explain, because some people will not understand no matter how hard you try to explain. See these guys, you can't be in leadership without you understanding the vision, integrity, courage, empathy, resilience, decisiveness. These are the things that follow when you start leading yourself. It must be a vision. You must see possibility. So we had a session previously on possibility. You must see possibility. It's part of leadership. You must see possibility. It's courage. Must be able to take risk. Leadership is about risk taking. There's empathy, understanding and valuing people. See them for who they can be, not who they are. Resilience, ability to bounce back, and decisiveness, to make tough decisions with conviction. And you see, you can be in leadership without having a title. And there are many leaders with no title. Mahatma Gandhi didn't have a title. It's just Mahatma Gandhi. Mother Teresa didn't have a title. She was just Mother Teresa. Martin Luther King didn't have a title. He was just Martin Luther King. So you can be an amazing leader even without a title. You know, when people ask that question, do you know who I am? It's a proof that they really don't even know who they are. Because if you are telling people, do you know who I am? They don't even know you. They don't know you. Imagine the David said, do you know who I am? David was known. He killed Goliath. He didn't need to have a title. In fact, after David killed Goliath, the women made a song and said, Saul has killed his 1,000. David had killed 10,000, but David killed one man. David killed one man. Are you getting this? Is this making sense to you? Are you understanding what leadership is about? See, leadership is not about friendship. Oh. You know, those of you that have a lot of friends, say, okay, he's my friend, my friend. Leadership is not about friendship. You can be leading your friends because leadership is not about friendship. It's not about friendship. Leadership is not about servitude, but service. It's not about servitude, it's about service. Jesus said, as I have washed your feet, so also do for others. It's about service. It's not about friendship. Leadership is not friendship. You can lead your friends, but it's not about friendship. It's about vision. Going somewhere, we have a vision, we have a goal. Leadership is not just about authority, it's about responsibility, it's about service, it's about impact. What's the impact that you are making? What's the responsibility you are taking? What's the service you are rendering? It's not about authority. No! It's not about authority. It's about responsibility. It's about service. It's about impact. That's what leadership is about, not about authority. Yes, you have authority, no doubt, but it's not about authority. And you see, leadership is about doing what is right, not what you like. You know, some people feel, oh, now that they're in leadership, they can do what they like. No, no, no. It's not about doing what you like. It's about doing what is right. It's about integrity, doing right. It's about doing what is right. The same way I tell people all the time that freedom is not doing what you like. Freedom is doing what is right. The same thing in leadership. Leadership is about doing right, not what you like. Doing what is right. You see, the leader do what is right. That's leadership, guys. What is right? I see, David, I told you earlier, David did not become a leader when Samuel anointed him. David was already a leader before he was anointed to be king. Samuel anointing David was to anoint him to be king. Samuel did not anoint him to be a leader. David was already a leader. He was already leading his father's sheep. He was already different from his brethren. He was already protecting the father's sheep from harm. That's leadership, guys. He was already being skillful with his instrument. That's leadership. He led with the skillfulness of his hand and the integrity of his heart. You see that in Psalm 78, verse 72. Skillfulness of his hand and the integrity of his heart. He was already a leader. When God said, I found David a man after my own heart, it was while he was taking care of sheep. It was how he was taking care of sheep. When God had that testament of him to Samuel, he said, do not weep over Saul, for I have rejected him. For I found a man after my own heart. So David did not become a leader when Samuel anointed him, he was already a leader before that time. So you don't become a leader when you are given a position. No, you are already a leader before you get any position. It's not the position that makes you a leader. It's not. It's not. David was a leader when he was taking responsibility for his father's sheep. He was a leader because leadership is about responsibility, service, and impact. Take note, when David even killed the lion and the bear, he did not even tell his father or his brothers. He was just like, it's a normal routine. It was when King Saul was trying to question his profile and his pedigree, and he said, see, the time a lion came and attacked my father's sheep, I took it by the beard and I smote it. Also, a bear came, I did the same thing. He was already a leader. He didn't have a title, he was already a leader. You know, leadership is about stewardship and flexibility. You know, scripture reminds us that it is required in stewardship that a man be found faithful. And flexibility, you don't have to stay rigid as a leader, you must be flexible because the goal is the vision, and you must be flexible about arriving the vision. When Saul gave David his armor, David could not walk, and he removed it and said, no, I have not tried this. I will go against Goliath with the sling and the stone that I am used to. It was flexible. It was flexible. See, leadership demands you being the example and not the bad sample. I'll say this again. Leadership demands you being the example and not the bad sample. You have to be the example. And I tell people this all the time. You are either the example or you are the bad sample. But leadership demands that you be the example and not the bad sample. Be the example, not the bad sample. And see, leadership is about inspiring yourself and others. I know you say when you inspire people to be more, to do more, and to have more, you are a leader. Leadership is about inspiring yourself and others to be more, to do more, and to have more. Because leadership is about inspiration. You're inspiring others and letting them know that they can be more, they can do more, they can have more. You're inspiring them. The guys who came to David at the cave of Abdullam, they did not believe they could become mighty men. David believed in them. He inspired them to be more, to do more, to have more. I know that Goliath had other brothers. It was these mighty men that killed Goliath's brothers. David only killed Goliath. Goliath had 4 other brothers. That's why David took 5 smooth stones, one for each of them. But after David killed Goliath, the rest, the Philistines, they fled. But later, when they came up wanting to revenge Goliath, it was David's men that killed Goliath's brothers. One of Goliath's brothers had six fingers and 6 toes. It was David's men that killed him. Which scripture is there? It's there. I'm not making it up. It's there. Why? Because leaders inspire others to be more, to do more, to have more. And see, leadership brings about loyalty through responsibility, empathy, and generosity. People are loyal to you for life because you show them responsibility, you show them empathy, and you show them generosity. That's how you gain loyalty of people. That's how you gain the loyalty of people. Through responsibility, through empathy, and through generosity. And you see that with David's men. They told David, our life for yours. Don't go to battle anymore. Let them put out the light of Israel. Our life for yours. We'll go to battle for you. You're willing to lay down their lives for David. Why? Because David demonstrated leadership through responsibility, empathy, and generosity. I see leadership is seeing the best in the worst of people and bringing out the best out of them. It's seeing the best in the worst of people and bringing out the best out of them. I've told you this earlier. First Samuel 22, in the cave of Adullam. The people that came to David, they were in debt, they were in distress, they were discontented. But these same people became David's mighty men. Leadership is seeing the best in the worst and bringing out the best in people. So you are not in leadership as it should be if you can't bring out the best in people. Yes, they may be the worst set of people ever, but you can bring out the best in them. That's leadership. You can bring out the best in them. Jesus told his disciples, you will no longer catch fish, you will catch men. And later, when they saw the disciples after Jesus had gone, they said they took note that these ones had been Jesus. Another translation says they could see the effect spending time with Jesus had on them. In Acts chapter 4, verse 13, they could see the effect that spending time with Jesus had on these people, on the disciples. The effects. That's leadership, bringing out the best in people. They said that these men were unlearned men, but the effects of spending time with Jesus was undeniable. That's leadership. That's leadership, guys. Undeniable. See, leadership brings about both change and transformation. It brings about change and transformation. You know, change and transformation are not the same thing. Change, you're getting a better version of the same thing. That's change. Transformation, you are getting another version of that thing. So the tadpole becomes the toad or the frog. That's change. The caterpillar becomes the butterfly. That's transformation. Leadership brings about both change and transformation. For some people, it brings about change. For some people, it brings about transformation. Leadership does both change and transformation. Now, the question is, why then is leadership declining today, despite all the information and knowledge that's available in the world today? Why is leadership on a decline, despite all the knowledge and information that is not only available but also accessible? Why is there a decline in leadership? I'll tell you why. Number one, people have short-term thinking because they are thinking of the immediate, not the ultimate. Remember, leadership is a vision. Martin Luther King talked about, I had a dream. I have a dream. But he did not even live to see that dream. But that dream became a reality. Long-term thinking. But today, people have short-term thinking. They're thinking the immediate, not the ultimate. They're thinking for now, immediate. So with short-term thinking is the death of leadership. Because they're not thinking future. They're just thinking now. The comfort crisis. People are okay in comfort. They don't want to stretch themselves because leadership will stretch you. It will take you out of your comfort zone. People are okay with their comfort. So the comfort crisis is the reason why there's the death of leadership today. People rather remain in their comfort zones. And like I keep saying, in the comfort zone, anything goes and nothing grows. In the comfort zone, anything goes, yet nothing grows. They want to remain in their comfort zone. The comfort crisis, another reason why there's the death of leadership today. Another reason is the fear of responsibility. People don't want to take up responsibility. They rather play the blame game than be held accountable and take up responsibility. That's why there's no leadership today. People don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to be held accountable. So the fear of responsibility is the reason why there's the death of leadership today. And then there's the distraction over depth. People are too distracted. People are too distracted. They're distracted. Social media, distracted with the news, distracted with everything that's happening with the trends. They're distracted. Distraction over depth is the reason why. The reason why it's the death of leadership today. And finally, the lack of mentorship. Some people don't want to pass down what they have gained over the years to the next generation. I tell people this all the time: whatever you keep to yourself dies with you. Whatever you give to others outlives you. So become a mentor. And that's why I encourage people to subscribe to the waiting list of the Upgrade Mastery Academy. We're going to go live in August. So subscribe to the waiting list for the Upgrade Mastery Academy. There are already people on that waiting list. You need to subscribe. All right, just check the link tinyurl.com/Upgrade Mastery Academy waitlist. That's it. Click on that link. It will take you to fill the form and you are on the waitlist. See, guys, leadership is first personal. Remember Samuel in Eli's house. Eli's children, Hophni and Phinehas, were misbehaving. Eli, their father, was the priest. But Samuel, staying in Eli's house, led himself differently. He didn't follow the bandwagon of Hophni and Phinehas. He led himself differently. See, leadership is first personal. Even when God called Samuel, Samuel couldn't recognize God's voice, so he went to Eli. Eli said, I didn't call you. He heard God's voice again. He went to Eli. Eli said, I didn't call you. He heard the third time, and Eli said, no. If you hear this voice again, this is your response. Speak, Lord, for thy servant hears. Samuel led himself personally. He led himself. He didn't go astray with the distractions from Hophni and Phinehas. That tells you that even if you are in the midst of wrong, you can still do what is right. But leadership is personal. Someone could have used the excuse that after all, I'm not in my father's house. After all, what I'm used to is people doing the wrong things. Hophni and Phinehas are examples of that, so I can follow their example. No. Remember, you are either the example or you are the bad sample. At that point, Hophni and Phinehas became the bad sample. Leadership is personal. Joseph and his brothers. Joseph was different. To the point the father even acknowledged the difference and made him a coat of many colors. Joseph was different. Self-leadership. Joseph was leading himself differently. That's why when he goes to Potiphar's house and Potiphar's wife were coming at him, he said, how can I do this great sin and wickedness before God? He didn't say before Potiphar. Before God, he was leading himself. Mordecai, even though a slave, was still different. He refused to bow to Haman because he knew he could only bow to God. He was still different. When there was the assassination plot against the king, he exposed it. He was still different. Even though he was a slave at that point, he was still different. Leadership is personal, guys. It's personal. What's this? Different breed. Scripture attests of Moses to being the meekest man on the earth. Different. Different. Even when his brothers and sisters accused him, Miriam and Aaron, God intervened on Moses' behalf, and Miriam became leprous for 7 days. Moses was different. He led himself. Personal leadership. Or is it Joshua? Joshua was different. Personal leadership. He was one of the spies who came back with a good report, himself and Caleb, when the other 10 came with evil reports. He was different. He was the one that God told personally, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now you would lead the people to the promised land. He said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And Joshua did exploits. At one point, he commanded the sun to stand still so he could continue the battle. He marched around Jericho, and Jericho's wall came down flat. Personal leadership. Joshua. Or is it Nehemiah, who could get permission from the king to go back and rebuild Jerusalem? Even though he was comfortable being the king cupbearer, but his heart was for the ruins in Jerusalem, and he took permission and went back to rebuild Jerusalem. And even when people were against him, Tobias and Sanballat, they were rebuilding with one hand. They had weapons of war in the other hand, should in case anything saw. Maya was different. Or was it Jesus? Jesus is the epitome of leadership. Jesus is the Oga Patapata of them all while on the earth. Like the Oga Patapata of them all is Jesus when it comes to servant leadership. Servant leadership. And so leadership is about being mad. MAD. It's about making a difference. You can't say you are in leadership without making a difference. Leadership is about making a difference. Making a difference. And making a significant difference, the right kind of difference, not Bala Blue, Mulaba, Town Hall, difference. No, not that kind of difference, the right difference. Leadership is about making a difference. It's about influencing and empowering. Influencing and empowering. It's not about position or title. It's about action and example. Are you getting this? It's not about position or title. It's about action and example. And see, leadership is about making other people better in your presence and making sure the impact lasts in your absence. That's leadership. It's about making others better in your presence and making sure the impact lasts in your absence. Like Paul says, as you have obeyed me in my presence, do much more in my absence. The true effect of leadership is in your absence. Is in your absence. And you see, leadership comes down to people, structure, process, systems. That's all. People, structure, system, and process. That's all, guys. And you see, everyone has been called into leadership. It's not for a select few, it's for everyone. And when everyone answers that call of leadership, then we would have a better society and a better world. Guys, this is what we call it a wrap on this conversation on leadership. Has this been worth your while? Have you learned something? Have you been inspired to wake up to the call of leadership for your life? Because you are supposed to be in leadership. You are supposed to be in leadership. And you must wake up to that responsibility and answer the call of leadership in your life. See this, guys. You know, like we always tell you, 30 things will happen for you in this new week. Number one, increased voice of God. Number two, open heavens over your life. And number three, more angelic activities in all that you do. Remember, guys, remember, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. And that's why we encourage you that you leave good behind so that you can upgrade. And what better way for you to upgrade to get yourself back into leadership? Thank you guys for watching. Do well to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones, because they too need to experience the upgrade effect. Once again, thank you for watching. God bless you.